Now, since the Republican tax cuts were signed into law by President Trump, Republicans and Trump have been crowing about the news that some people have received raises and bonuses. And for that, hey, wonderful, right? I'm always happy when somebody gets a raise. I'm always happy when somebody gets a bonus. I'm not hating on that at all. Now, some people had received up to a $1,000 bonus. Hey, well, look at that. Now, Republicans are saying, see, the tax cuts, they work. It's trickling down all over the place. Well, in reality, it's actually not. These bonuses and these raises are actually very rare. Now, there's a new poll out that wanted to determine how many workers actually benefited from the GOP tax cuts in the form of a raise or a bonus. Now, that's exactly what the GOP had promised when they passed the tax cuts. You're going to get paid more. You're going to end up taking more money home. The economy is going to get better. We're going to create all sorts of jobs. Well, I pointed out in some previous videos how they're actually not creating jobs. Even some of these companies that have given bonuses have ended up actually firing people. Some of them even fired them before Christmas, which is like an extra kick in the nuts. So, I mean, and they did these bonuses and stuff to hide the fact that they were laying people off. It's a really kind of dirty move. But these companies never had the intention of actually hiring more people or paying their workers more. All they were going to do is doing stock buybacks. Carrier did stock buybacks, I think somewhere around $900 million. Walmart did stock buybacks while also shuttering Sam's Club stores all over the country, leaving thousands of people without jobs, on and on and on, right? So, again, their promises turned out to be full of basically nothing. Now, back to the poll here. Now, and these results are not going to surprise you. How many people have actually gotten bonuses and things like that from and pay raises from these tax cuts? Only about 2% of American adults reported receiving a bonus, a bump in pay, or another perk due to the Republican tax overhaul. 2%. That's even lower than I would have thought. I mean, it's not 5%, it's not 10%, which is still incredibly low, but 2%. Hey, mission accomplished. That's what Republicans say, right? Hey, all it cost us is $1.5 trillion in tax cuts for the richest corporations on earth. Hey, you know what? I have an idea. Maybe if we give them $6 trillion in tax cuts, then we might get another 4% that might trickle down. Or, hey, maybe we could stop doing the same thing we've always done, trickle-down economics, and actually mandate, I don't know, a living fucking wage. That would be nice. We could also tax the rich. Instead of giving them tax cuts, we could do the opposite. Tax them a little bit more, which is actually also incredibly popular with most Americans. And we could use that money to actually pay for things. Now, let me show you how popular tax increases for the rich are. A Reuters Ipsos poll conducted in September of last year, from the 29th to October 5th, found that 53% of adults strongly agree that the wealthiest Americans should pay higher tax rates. This is not the majority of people saying, no, I think the rich should get more tax cuts. No, these are people saying increases. Hey, let's tax the rich more. But it gets even better, right? Now, an additional 23% somewhat agree that the wealthiest should pay higher tax rates. So that's an overwhelming majority of Americans that are like, yes, tax the rich. They've got more money. Therefore, they're more equipped to pay taxes. Why are we paying more taxes? Now, in the system that we have right now, since the rich don't pay their fair share of taxes, guess where that comes out of? It comes out of your pocket. Payroll taxes are now a much larger share of the economy, or I should say of the government's income, than taxes on the rich. So, and of course, payroll taxes are regressive, which means it impacts the poor and the middle class far more because poor and middle class people actually get paychecks. So, and that's where that money comes from. Whereas a lot of the wealthy people get stock options as well as capital gains and dividends and things like that, which are taxed at a lower rate than regular people's taxes. So, and then of course, the tax cuts from the Trump tax cuts, of course, brought all sorts of exemptions for pass-through corporations and things like that. So, they get even more of a boost, even more of a bump. So now the newer poll on the tax cuts also found that 27% of respondents say they believe this legislation will increase the amount they pay in taxes, while 24% said they think they will pay less in taxes, and 23% did not anticipate their tax payment will be altered. So more people think, yes, we're gonna pay more taxes under this, while the rich pay less. Now, why did they say that? Well, one of the provisions in this tax cut bill was the fact that middle-class tax cuts will sunset, which means they are temporary, they are not permanent. You know what tax cuts are permanent? For the corporations, which got a permanent decrease down to 21%, from 35 to 21%. And this tax plan also raises taxes for people living in, or effectively raises taxes for people living in places like New York and California, because of the fact that you can no longer deduct state and local taxes up to a certain amount. So that is a tax increase on people on the major population centers of America. So now, this is the part that scares Republicans, right? A third of respondents polled said the new legislation actually made them more likely to cast their vote for a Democrat, while only a quarter of those surveyed said the same thing for a Republican. So, consider that, right? So, we're heading into a contentious midterm in 2018. And here you have the effect of the Trump tax cuts having a third of respondents to different polls saying, I'm actually more likely to vote for the opponent because at least my opponent won't cut taxes for the rich. This is why the Koch brothers are actually going to spend about $400 million on midterm elections. Now, some of that money is going to go towards propaganda aimed at selling these tax cuts to middle-class people. Hey, it turns out cutting taxes for me by billions of dollars is good for you. Okay, well, how? It'll trickle down. I mean, look at all the jobs that are created, and look at all the bonuses and all that stuff. Yeah, but the bonuses go to 2% of people. Look, all their arguments can be defeated if you actually know the facts. If you actually know that the tax cuts for the rich don't generally actually create more jobs. What creates jobs is demand. You actually have to have demand for goods and services, and people with the money to go out and buy those goods and services to be able to actually have an economy that grows. One that is consumer-based, based on consumer spending, which is what we're in. The problem is that the economy won't grow because all the wealth seems to be concentrated at the top 1% specifically. So what we should do is, instead of cutting taxes for corporations, we should actually be raising corporate taxes and using that money to actually help regular people. Now, for one, and this isn't related to actually using tax money, but we should have a living wage. Raise the wage. These companies are not going to pay for more, or I should say they're not going to do higher wages because we ask them nicely. No, they're only going to do so if we actually have congressional action that raises the minimum wage to a living wage, $15 an hour. Now, we also need to put people back to work with an infrastructure project. I mean, our infrastructure is rated maybe a D+, somewhere around D-, D+. Those are the grades that I got in high school. Okay, that's not good. That's bad. So we should actually do something about that and put people back to work fixing our infrastructure. Flint still doesn't have clean water. Flint. And of course, we have Puerto Rico has been devastated by the hurricanes. And we have places all over the country where there is substandard infrastructure, roads and bridges that are falling apart. We could put people back to work with a national public works program. Use some of this money that we would save. Instead of giving tax cuts to corporations, we should actually fund projects. Again, the economic result of this, the effects, would be excellent for the economy. That actually put money into people's pockets. Not only that, but we should invest in renewable energy and also expand Medicare. That's what we should be doing, instead of doing more tax cuts for the rich, which sadly the Democrats have also fallen into that trap. These corporate Democrats, neoliberals, they're all into cutting corporate taxes as well and deregulating industry, and that's not the direction that we need to go. We need to go in a progressive direction if we want to actually help regular people. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.